Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today I'm finally gonna talk about how to set up your contract or what to include on your contract. So I know since day one that I started uploading my videos, the majority of the questions was about how to make a contract. Can you send me one? Can I buy it from you? And it's not that I never wanted to share it with you guys. It's just a legal document. And by me giving out my contract to anybody is basically just giving my full company away. All you had to do is pretty much just change your wording and use exactly what I did. So I really didn't want to go through that trouble. But honestly, I think it's super easy to make one. It's not complicated. At the end of the day, as long as you get the signature from the properties, from the regional manager, that's all that matters. That becomes fully a legal document signed by two parties, which is you as a vendor and them as a property. So I'm gonna go ahead and drop some hints here from that I found on Google, and that's just to show you guys that that's the way I did mine. As I mentioned before, I don't have background in legal, only accounting, so I don't really know anything regarding contracts. But of course, everything's on Google. You can go ahead and research and look for contract templates. That's what I did. And I pretty much created mine from what I found in Google. And at the end of the day, like I tell a lot of people, it doesn't have to be perfect. I was new to owning a business, and the most important thing is that I learned from everything that I submitted. It was so many times that I submitted the contract and they came back and be like, oh, but you're missing this, or can you include this in your contract? And that's how you learn, guys. So don't feel bad, don't feel like it looks unprofessional. At the end of the day, we're there to provide the trash service. So as long as that's okay, as long as that's your strong, that's all that matters. The rest of it is just a document. So I do, however, have one of my contracts here, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about. I cannot share, like I said, but I'll give you hints of what to include on your contracts, so that way you can pretty much protect yourself as the vendor and pretty much just have everything documented in case of management change or owners, they selling the property. So stay tuned, guys. Let's start it here and let's talk about those things and pointers that you want to include on your contract. So let's start. Part one, guys. So the most important thing is that you want to label your terms and conditions. So what this means is that you want to make sure you include the dates that the service will be provided, what are you providing for the document, and this can be like a little chart. This can be like written down. So you pretty much just want to put down in here. I'm looking at one of my contracts, and the way that I do it, just pretty much I provide like the service description, what I'm gonna do, what my company's gonna do. You want to make sure you include the date that you're starting. If the property tells you, hey, just get a contract and then we'll talk about the start date later, then you just want to go ahead and put like a contract will initiate whenever the date is provided from the vendor. I have a couple of contracts with that because I just wanted to make sure I get it signed so I can start ordering my trash bins. So that's number one, your services. Second part will be, what you're providing, I guess your equipment. So in this case, it will be the trash cans. So if you're providing the trash cans, you just want to make sure you list there what are you providing, how many trash cans, and be careful, guys. So this is one thing you want to make sure you list, either if they're free, either you're charging them for it, either they'll pay for it at the end of the contract. That's really up to you guys. That's another question that I got actually on YouTube yesterday. Is like, can the property pay for their own trash bins? I have never encountered a property that has done that. From what I know, is pretty much us as vendors, we're providing we're providing them the trash bins. I do, however, in my contracts, I put that they're free. They don't have to pay anything for them. However, at the end of the contract, I do put, and you want to make sure you include this because they're pretty much just loaned to the property. So I do I protect my equipment by throwing in there like, hey, at the end of the contract, if you decide to move on from us, I have to take as many trash cans as I want. And with that, I know that one of the big companies, they charge them $25 for some of the missing trash bins. You can do that as well. Or you can just go ahead and just be like, I'll collect as many as I can. If you're doing the same for the floor mats, you want to make sure you include that also on that portion of the contract. So that's number 2, guys. Number 3, guys, so also you want to talk about the term. How long is a contract gonna last? So that's really, really important. So it's really important because, I know that a lot of some of the property managements that I have encountered, unfortunately for us, the big companies have ruined the long contract period. So most of the properties that I have encountered have trust issues, because they worry that you as a vendor, you're gonna fail them, the trash won't get collected, and then they get stuck with a 3, 4, 5 year contract again, which it becomes, believe it or not, people do move out for the reasons of that their trash is not being collected. When I lived at the property that had this service, I remember me as the resident was like, why am I gonna pay $25 a month if they're not even picking up the trash? So a lot of the people, they really get offended, so they end up leaving the apartment complex because of this. So you want to make sure you get your term right. I don't recommend month to month, because it's just you never know. You're going in there with the biggest investment, so you want to make sure like at least do a year, and then from there. So it's 2 good things. So the bad thing is that that it's not gonna be a long contract, so it's only gonna be for a year. That's the bad thing. But the good thing is that if you provide the best service that they'll ever get, that's guaranteed a raise at the end of the year. So that's something good to keep an eye for. So just because they say, hey, can we do a 1-year contract, don't get sad about it, don't get discouraged. It benefits you if you can provide the good service, because that means that within a year, you'll be able to raise the price again. So if you're starting your business and you're like, hey, I'm having a hard time getting a property, this can be beneficial for you by offering a lower price, because that's ultimately what I did. But just keep in mind, within a year, I'll be able to get a raise and get my money back, because I know that they're gonna love my brand. So just add that to your terms, guys, and just keep that in mind for your contracts. So number 3, guys. So of course, what I do, I'll talk about I want to make sure I be specific about the fees, the amount fees, the invoice fees. So I make sure that I write down how much, we agreed on the price, how much is gonna be for the total units. If you're trying to include any occupancy percentages, that you're like, if you want to do like only 90% if it's occupied, you can pay me the full invoice, totally up to you. What I do is just strictly for all the units. So I'm like, I'm getting the total for this unit this month. I'll provide the invoices at the first of the month. If you want to add late fees for any late invoices, up to you. I really don't care about that. I'm like, as long as you pay me, or as long as you're communicating with me that the money's coming, that's all I care about. At the end of the day, you're responsible for however you want to deal with your situation. So that's number 3, guys. Number 4, guys. So you want to also make sure you talk about termination policies. So you want to make sure that you protect yourself from any terminations from them. And what I mean, if it's if you have a 12-month contract, and then in May, let's say you have a 12-month contract from January to December, and then on May they decide to be like, hey, we no longer want your service, or blah blah blah. Please protect yourself and include a termination clause in your contract. What I mean by this is that you want to make sure even if that's the case, if they're trying to do like a hard termination on you, at least collect either 50% of the remaining of the months left over in the contract, or you make sure all you're trying to do is just protect that you're gonna get your money. Because if it's like you don't have a termination clause, even though you stayed is 12 months, you're giving them no reason to not terminate. And if you go to a lawyer, you're gonna spend money, and they're gonna come back and they're gonna fight you. Well, you didn't have a termination clause, so it's just the 12 months. But It's just basically like for if you're living in an apartment, right? You sign a 12-year lease. But whenever you sign the lease, in that lease, there's termination clauses where like, hey, you can do a hard termination, leave the apartment, but you have to pay a percentage. So think about that. If apartments didn't have that and people were like, hey, I'm moving out because of this and that, they wouldn't be able to charge people. So you want to protect yourself against any of that. Not that it's gonna happen, not that it has happened to me, but I strongly recommend you guys to do that. So keep an eye for that and include your termination fees. Me personally, I only do like 20%. So it's like if anybody tries to terminate 20% of the remaining months, I'll collect from it. But you can do whatever, the 100%, you can do 50%, totally up to you to do that. So that is number 4. Insurance. Any property, any management company is gonna require insurance. So I'll make another video for what insurance is required in Texas that I've used. But so far, like any property that I've been to just requires insurance. So you want to make sure you also, that's one of the things that I'm telling you guys at the beginning of the video that I learned. I didn't include that on the contract, and one of the properties came back and told me, hey, can you go ahead and add like something about insurance that you're pretty much complying to the fact that you will have insurance all the time. So you see, that's something that I learned that I didn't really know when I started the contract. So just state that you have insurance the whole time. You'll provide them certificates of insurance, that's what you get from your insurance reps. And that's just something that they asked me for it. So it's not that I thought about it, they just asked me for it. So that's number 5, guys. And of course, I think I have a couple more that I really didn't find useful, but I think the final one that I do want to talk about, which is number 6, and this is really important. So if you're already bored through the video or you already left, I'm sorry, but I recommend you guys this one 1,000,000,000%. So you want to state something regarding the management agreements of the ownership of the property. So what I mean by this, guys, is that, and luckily it hasn't happened for me, but I'm in accounting and I know this happens all the time. So you just want to make sure, no matter what it is, please include something regarding management agreements or ownership change. So what I mean by this, guys, let's get through it. So a lot of the properties are with big names of management companies, right? Asset Living, RPM, Lincoln, all you guys already know there's a lot of big management companies. So some of those companies have national agreements with the big brands, the big Valet Trash company. So for example, Lincoln, it's one of them. I have visited a lot of Lincoln properties, and as soon as I see the sticker on the front door, I walk out, because that's one of the management companies that has a national contract. So what that means is that the only provider of Valet Trash can be the big company. So let's say you have a property from a different management company, and they decided to change management company to Lincoln. If you guys don't state in that contract that if you guys don't state a management agreement or a management change, ownership change agreement, something, then they can come back, read through your contract, and pretty much pay out I guess if they want to, they can just go ahead and pay out whatever termination fee you have. But just be really careful, guys, because this happens a lot, and I've seen it, like I said, in accounting. So you just want to make sure that you state in that portion of it, and I can kind of summarize what I wrote on mine. And it's just like, in case of a property transitions, changes management, or changes ownership, the contract should not be revoked or terminated until the maturity is met. So keep this in mind, guys. This will protect you, because if that property changes and your contract is only 2 months, and they'll be like, hey, they can go ahead and pay it out or wherever, they'll go ahead and pay it out. But if you include this, then they won't be able to do it. Even if they pay you, even if they're like, hey, we want to terminate it because, you know, the termination policy of it, they can give you whatever months is left over. But so you can collect and finish your full contract, you just want to make sure you state that. So that's only for management changes or ownership changes. So if they decided to change owners, be like, I'm sorry, you'll have to comply to the full contract. We cannot break a contract right now. So keep that in mind, guys. That's really important. You want to make sure you at least get your money back for, you know, the hard work, all your trash bins. And honestly, that's everything that I include of mine, guys. That's my contracts. You know, just picture them in your mind. Like I said, they're not hard. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You'll make mistakes, but you learn from it. You learn from it from the next contract. Don't be shy, because like I said, at the end of the day, what matters is your brand and the service you provide. You know, this is just a piece of paper that gets signed by them. It gets signed by them, but at the end of the day, if you can provide the best service you can, then that's it, guys. That's what matters. That's the word that you're giving them. So don't waste money. Don't think that you have to waste money on lawyers or lawyers or public notaries. Don't do that. Just save yourself as much money as I can. Think outside the box. Google templates and put yourself one together, and then just give it a try. If they see something that they want to add on, then they'll just be like, hey, can you please go ahead and edit the contract and add this on it? And then that's it. So don't overthink it. It's super simple, super easy. I did not use any website or anything. All I used was Google. So that's it for the contract, guys. I know you're probably gonna be surprised and be like, that's it? And honestly, that's it, guys. It's just mine. It's just 2 pieces of papers. I'm pretty simple with it. I just capture like the main things that I know I need to have here. And thankfully, nothing has come back and bite me in the ass yet, and I hope not. But I'm hoping that it doesn't, and I'm hoping that you guys can learn from it. And just quick thing that I forgot to mention: you just want to make sure you also state in the contract the days that your company won't work. If there's any weather-related things that you want to include in there, that hey, there's no service if there's tornadoes, hurricanes. Include that in there as well, but that's not really a big deal. So the other 5-6 things that I just kind of talked to you guys are the main things that I look for and that I include in my contracts. So I hope that this has helped you a bit. I hope that this helps you see that it's not hard to start your own contract. Don't waste money, because save that money for the trucks, for the trash bins, for the insurance. So don't go out of your way when there's something, just don't be afraid to do it yourself. Don't be lazy to research and to fail, to be rejected and say, hey, not rejected, but be like, hey, can you add this to your contract? So thank you guys so much. I hope this really helps you guys. I hope that this answers, you don't have to see a contract from anybody else. Just think about it, just give it your best, and then just learn. If you learn from this property, then whenever you get your second contract, then what else can I add on that contract? What else did I miss out? So thank you guys so much for your support, and I hope this helps you out, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.